Hello? Hello? Hi, is this working?
It works, it's for the recording, so it's not
Oh,
part
so
of
I'm
the
not
PA
going
system.
to-
Yeah, and so you don't
Okay.
have to stand close to it, it'll catch your voice.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. My name's Steve Lindsay, and I live at 17 Center Street. And I've been, for most of my life, except for stints in the military and working for newspapers and farms in upper state New York and fishing boats in Maine, I've pretty much lived here. And I have an opinion on this, and I'm going to share that with you now.
On the ordinance proposed?
On the ordinance.
Proposed.
Proposed ordinance. What we're looking at is Central Square, a pretty park, but it's something more than a park. It is the town commons. It is the place where people go to share beliefs. Perhaps the Minutemen that marched to Bunker Hill before stopping off at the Wyman Tavern for some beer, they were probably mustered right here. Maybe during the resistance to President John Adams' Alien and Sedition Acts, people went into the square. That's where you go, to the square. Shays Rebellion, other times people have come into the square. In my time, anti-war people were in the square protesting the Vietnam War. The other Middle Eastern wars, we had other people came in support of the troops with yellow ribbons. People come to the square for different reasons, different factions, not necessarily the majority, in fact, frequently the minority. I shook hands with President Gerald Ford back in '76 when he came into town, so politicians go into the square. There's not an expectation of quiet in the square. It's in the noisy business district. It's in the common area. It belongs to us all. My feeling about the chalking ordinance is it impinges on free expression. There was a recent Manchester decision where the courts weighed the pros and cons and decided that chalking should be allowed on the flat surfaces, on the sidewalks, but not on the buildings or on the memorials. That seemed to be a fair thing. I would recommend we study the court's decision very closely and not defy the spirit of the law. Even though it's not exactly the same as the Keene case, there are a lot of similarities, and we need to look at the court. Courts do not take kindly to being ignored. They will swat this down, especially if people resist. We could open ourselves up to lawsuits. Some years ago there was a radical professor at the local college, McDonough was his name, and he was very unpopular, and he supported his family with his lawsuits. I don't want the city opened up to lawsuits. MUR covered this story. Last time I looked, 144 people commented after the Keene chalking story when, I forget the presenter's name, when Channel 9 was here in town. Almost all of them were quite negative. They're portraying Keene as preventing little girls from playing hopscotch, if you're not going to allow chalking downtown. And that is how the Daily Mail will portray it, and if we adopt this ordinance. We've been in the news a lot lately, on the front page of the Times, other newspapers about various things, not just our pumpkin number, which we're very proud of, but for various things like Bearcats, Robin Hooders. I would like to see the city not get a name, another black eye, as being seen as blue nosers, as like the way Boston used to be back in the 30s and 40s, very close, blinkered, with blinders on. This is Central Square, but it's our town common, and we need to keep it open for expression. We don't like the expression sometimes, okay, but then when you start, there's a great danger when you start to curtail, whether you're going to close the park at 9 p.m., whether you're going to keep people from doing artwork the minute you start censoring art. People have been gathering in that squares for years. The yellow ribbon people, the juggalos, whoever, people we didn't like, some people we did like. Sometimes it's the veterans with the flags. Sometimes it's the yellow ribbon people. Sometimes it's the people that don't like the war. But all kinds of people gather in that square, and they should continually, as long as they respect each other, There are remedies for people who are libeled with the chalk. There are civil remedies, and there, but just to have a blanket prohibition against chalking will open us up to ridicule, and it hurts the precepts of an open democratic society where ideas rise and fall on their relative merit. So please keep the park open for everyone, even those we don't much like. Please let, as someone once said, this too shall pass. Let's not swat flies with sledgehammers, because we can do a lot of damage. Thank you, panel, for listening to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.